The human psyche, in its profound complexity, frequently resists the varied transformations it consciously desires. Despite earnest intentions to cultivate new habits or shed detrimental patterns, an almost inevitable regression often occurs. This cycle of hopeful initiation followed by disheartening return to an established baseline leads to a profound sense of self-blame, fostering the belief in an inherent incapacity for change. This psychological impasse is not a mere failure of willpower or discipline. It reflects a deeper, often unconscious, resistance. Carl Jung, through decades of profound psychological inquiry, illuminated the fundamental impediment to genuine personal evolution. His observations revealed that individuals often remain ensnared in repetitive cycles, articulating a desire for change while simultaneously exhibiting the most profound resistance to it. The answer Jung uncovered is both disquieting and profoundly liberating. Authentic metamorphosis, Jung posited, commences not through the accretion of new disciplines, additional knowledge, or superior techniques. True change begins with the profound cessation, the death, of existing internal constructs. This concept is not a mere poetic metaphor. It signifies a psychologically real, deeply felt, and frequently arduous process. To embrace this death is to comprehend the intrinsic difficulty of transformation itself. Consider moments in life that truly redefined an individual, fostering a deep, pervasive transformation where one declared, "I am no longer that person." Such pivotal junctures invariably involve not only an acquisition but also a significant loss. They mark the conclusion of a chapter, the closure of a door, or the end of an era. This might manifest as the termination of a relationship, the collapse of long-held beliefs, or the dissolution of an identity or role previously deemed central to self. This disintegration, while often painful, clears the ground for the emergence of a more authentic, deeper, and freer self. Jung's illustrative analogy of the caterpillar entering its cocoon is particularly apt. Within this chrysalis, the caterpillar does not merely grow wings, it dissolves. Its former structure disintegrates, reorganizes, and is reborn. This is a ritual of dissolution, a form of death preceding rebirth. Yet, human nature frequently attempts a paradoxical feat: to be simultaneously the caterpillar and the butterfly. We cling tenaciously to our antiquated identities, narratives, and defensive mechanisms, all while anticipating transformation. We desire to be simultaneously anxious and serene, selfish and humble, dependent and autonomous. Such duality is psychologically untenable. Genuine transformation, by its very nature, demands the end of something. This exploration delves into 5 fundamental internal constructs that demand cessation, release, and relinquishment. These are not external adversaries nor inherent flaws. Rather, they are deeply ingrained strategies forged for survival. While perhaps functional in a past context, they now constrict growth, impede authentic expression, and obscure one's true essence. A candid self-assessment regarding the presence of each construct is crucial, for awareness itself constitutes the initial stride toward liberation. The first construct is the false self, or Jung's persona. Observe the variations in self-presentation, how one behaves with family versus new acquaintances or close friends. While contextual adaptation is natural, the question arises: which of these masks, if any, truly represents the authentic self? The false self is predominantly sculpted during childhood. We assimilate messages about what garners affection, which emotions are permissible, and what behaviors ensure acceptance. Do not cry, be strong, be quiet, do not make trouble. These directives become deeply embedded, leading to the creation of a self engineered for external approval and perceived security, thereby mitigating the risk of rejection. This constructed self is distinct from the genuine self. The relinquishment of this false self is profoundly challenging because it necessitates confronting the existential inquiry: who am I, truly? The prospect of uncovering nothing beneath the mask, or discovering something unacceptable, can be terrifying. Yet, Jung asserted that beneath the persona lies not emptiness, but a suppressed, underdeveloped, yet authentic self. Engaging with this self is the genesis of transformation. The second construct is the victim identity. This is perhaps the most prevalent and simultaneously the most elusive, often rooted in genuine suffering. a difficult childhood, traumatic relationships, or unjust treatment. These experiences are undeniably real. However, at a critical juncture, the narrative shifts from, "This happened to me," to, "This is who I am." Phrases such as, "This always happens to me," "I am perpetually unlucky," or, "People invariably disappoint me," cease to be mere explanations. They crystallize into a defining identity. The victim identity confers a significant, albeit illusory, benefit, exemption from responsibility. If one's life circumstances are solely attributable to external forces, then personal agency in altering them appears moot. In the short term, this offers immense relief. In the long term, this identity paralyses. Authentic change necessitates constructing a bridge between past events and present action. The victim identity systematically obstructs this bridge. The third construct is the inflated ego. This differs markedly from healthy pride or self-assurance, which are vital for psychological well-being. An inflated ego asserts, "I already possess all knowledge. My perspective is inherently correct. My opinions supersede all others." Such an ego actively impedes learning, for true acquisition of knowledge requires the humility to acknowledge, "I do not know." Similarly, true change demands the capacity to admit, "I might be mistaken." Jung elucidated that the ego's primary function is to safeguard identity. Beyond a certain threshold, however, this protective function becomes an impediment to growth, as the ego rigidly avoids vulnerability, error, awkwardness, and any perceived loss of control. This avoidance traps an individual in the status quo. Transformation invariably entails a form of ego death, whether it is the minor discomfort of admitting a mistake or the profound upheaval of recognizing that long-held beliefs were erroneous. Both forms of dissolution can be deeply unsettling. The fourth construct is the need for approval. An internal monologue often dictates choices. Is this correct? Will they like this? Will this be accepted? This voice can become so dominant that one's own internal compass is entirely drowned out. Career paths, personal relationships, sartorial choices, and even fundamental beliefs are often shaped by the anticipation of external validation. At this stage, existence is dictated not by who one genuinely is, but by who one believes they should be. Jung posited that this pervasive need for approval symptomizes a deeper deficiency, the absence of an internal authority, or a profound distrust in its guidance. Consequently, individuals externalize their locus of control. Releasing this need engenders the terrifying risk of judgment. Yet, authentic self-expression is fundamentally incompatible with an unwavering fear of disapproval. The fifth construct to relinquish is the avoidance of the shadow. This involves the systemic denial of those parts of ourselves that are suppressed, unacknowledged, or deemed unacceptable. This encompasses the repudiation of jealousy, the suppression of anger, the misinterpretation of vulnerability as weakness, or the deliberate ignoring of unsettling thoughts. These disavowed aspects are not eradicated by concealment. On the contrary, suppression often intensifies their power, leading to eventual manifestation in more destructive forms. True change commences with the integration of all parts of the self. Jung famously stated, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The recurring patterns in one's life, identical relational dynamics, persistent conflicts, repeated disappointments, intractable impasses, are not coincidental. They are manifestations of the unconscious, steering behavior precisely because they remain unseen and unacknowledged. Embracing this uncomfortable truth is the authentic pathway to change. The common misconception is to perceive these five constructs as flaws to be rectified. This perspective inherently sabotages the transformative process. These constructs are not errors. Paradoxically, they were once solutions. We did not consciously choose these patterns. At some point, they facilitated survival. The brain is inherently resistant to abandoning strategies that have previously proven effective. The false self, for instance, emerged as a defense against perceived rejection. The victim identity provided solace during moments of genuine powerlessness. An inflated ego offered a shield against the pain of humiliation. The need for approval compensated for a lack of internal security. All these patterns were, at their inception, adaptive solutions, products of the brain's innate intelligence. Until this truth is acknowledged, Perceiving these patterns solely as deficiencies to be corrected will invariably lead to stagnation. To truly release something, one must first comprehend what it provides. Jung termed this secondary gain, the unconscious benefits these patterns confer. The secondary gain of the victim identity, for example, is liberation from responsibility. I cannot change because external forces dictate my life. This conviction, while painful, negates the need for effort and protects against the perceived failure of trying. The secondary gain of the need for approval is the ease of external guidance, avoiding the arduous and risky process of making autonomous decisions. The secondary gain of an inflated ego is protection from vulnerability. If I am already right, then the threat of being wrong is neutralized. These patterns offer psychological remuneration, making their relinquishment profoundly challenging. The conventional approach to change often misinterprets its essence. We frame change as a discrete goal. I will alter characteristic X. However, change is not an external objective, it is an internal process. This process is not predicated on success but on honesty, the unflinching capacity to perceive oneself, and crucially, to reconcile with those aspects previously disowned. Jungian shadow work is not about eliminating perceived weaknesses, but about seeing them, understanding their origins, and integrating their energy. It is about asking, if I experience envy, from where does it arise? What message does it convey? What can this feeling teach me? When one attempts to eliminate a shadow aspect, it merely becomes repressed. When it is integrated, its underlying energy can be transmuted into something constructive. This transformative process is rarely an isolated journey. Jung repeatedly emphasized the therapeutic value of working with an analyst, confiding in a trusted individual, or engaging within a supportive community. The inherent blind spots of self make it exceptionally difficult to perceive the unconscious without an external perspective. Another voice, another viewpoint, can illuminate what remains invisible in one's own reflection. A tangible, immediate step can initiate this profound journey. Take a notebook or a digital note-taking application. Each evening, prior to sleep, record the single moment that evoked the most profound discomfort, anger, or worry during the day. Focus exclusively on the feeling, not merely the event. Instead of writing, "My boss said X today, and I became enraged," record, "Today, I felt intense anger." Then, critically, ask, what within me contributed to this feeling? Dedicate merely 1 minute to this introspection. This simple practice lays the groundwork for Jungian shadow work. Those things that disturb us most profoundly often resonate with something unacknowledged within the unconscious. If an individual evokes intense irritation, it likely reflects a suppressed aspect within oneself. If a situation elicits disproportionate anger, it points to an unhealed wound. These wounds are the raw material for genuine transformation. This exercise is not an invitation to self-recrimination, nor is it a logical deduction that if one is angry at another, one must embody that same trait. It is a mirror exercise, observing without judgment, without immediate attempts to rectify, merely seeing. I felt this way today. Where has this feeling resided within me before? Consistent engagement with this practice for a week will reveal intriguing patterns. The same situations, the same emotional responses, will recur. This repetition is the language of the unconscious, which reiterates its messages until they are comprehended. If one consistently finds themselves in similar relational dynamics, enduring identical conflicts, or experiencing recurrent disappointments, these are not coincidences. They are communications from the deeper self. To truly listen to these messages is to unlock the door to change. Consider a pattern where one habitually acquiesces to requests, only to harbor resentment internally. What does this pattern communicate? Perhaps a profound need for approval overrides the ability to establish healthy boundaries, stemming from a past where refusal was met with punishment. Or, observing the success of others elicits an unsettling internal disquiet. Is this envy, a sense of inadequacy, or a suppressed aspiration? Such inquiries open pathways into the shadow. Initially, this process may be uncomfortable. To perceive oneself clearly can be disconcerting. To name internal aspects long carried can feel burdensome. Jung asserted, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Confronting this darkness does not obliterate it, rather, seeing it constitutes the initial step toward its transformation. This exercise is not a definitive solution, but a seminal beginning. Transformation is not a singular, dramatic moment of enlightenment. It is the culmination of small, consistent, honest steps. 1 minute each evening dedicated to radical self-honesty. A quality far rarer than generally presumed, for self-honesty is often more challenging than honesty with others. Record the most potent feeling of discomfort, not the event, and then ask, where does this feeling reside within me? The answer is not immediately necessary. The act of posing the honest question to the subconscious renders it slightly more visible. Through this incremental visibility, day by day, the foundation for authentic transformation is laid. Jung articulated that confronting one's inner darkness demands genuine courage. Without this courage, no authentic light can truly shine. This daily exercise, therefore, is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of profound bravery, the courage to look inward, to accept what is seen, and, incrementally, to act upon that perception. At the end of a week, while dramatic external shifts may not be apparent, a subtle internal transformation will occur. One will feel subtly closer to oneself. From this nascent connection, all genuine change emanates, for transformation never originates externally, it invariably begins within. If this exploration has resonated, it is likely that a particular concept struck a chord. Perhaps the false self felt profoundly familiar, or the victim identity evoked recognition. Perhaps the discussion of shadow avoidance elicited the thought, this is me. This recognition, this awareness must not be underestimated, for it is an active choice not to ignore what has been revealed. Carl Jung emphasized that transformation is neither instantaneous nor overtly dramatic. A single, life-altering moment does not merely arrive. Transformation unfolds through small, consistent, deliberate steps. It begins today with a conscious observation. It continues tomorrow with an honest self-inquiry. And eventually, it commences with the courageous gaze upon those parts of oneself long disowned. Over time, the accumulation of these minor recognitions fosters not an entirely new person, but a more authentic self. The unsettling aspect of transformation is the inherent uncertainty regarding the transformed self. If old identities are shed, what will occupy the void? This uncertainty often manifests as a perceived emptiness. Yet, Jung offered a profound reinterpretation. This perceived void is not an absence, but a space where energy previously expended in self-suppression is liberated. This space engenders a sense of freedom perhaps never before experienced, the freedom to embrace one's own voice, make one's own choices, and navigate life by an internal compass, rather than by the shifting winds of external approval. Revisit the 5 constructs discussed: the false self, the victim identity, the inflated ego, the need for approval, and shadow avoidance. Which of these resonates most deeply within your own experience? Which felt most familiar, subtly reverberating within your consciousness? This feeling is a crucial message. It warrants attentive listening. Genuine transformation often manifests not in dramatic upheaval, but in subtle, internal shifts. Today, instead of an automatic reaction, pause. Ask yourself, why do I react in this specific manner? Even if the answer remains elusive, the question itself is potent. Or, when seeking external validation, pause and inquire, what do I truly desire? Who am I, genuinely? These accumulated moments form the bedrock for extraordinary transformation. Carl Jung, in his later years, wrote, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. To outgrow them signifies a transition into a different dimension of being." Transformation mirrors this. It is not an event with a definitive beginning and end, but an ongoing process, deepening and expanding throughout life's journey. If you were to shed your false self, your victim identity, your inflated ego, your need for approval, and your evasion of the shadow, who, truly, would remain? Not the person others expect, nor the person society demands. Without these masks and patterns, who would stand there? Do not rush to an answer. Instead, carry this question with you. Let it inhabit your days and permeate your nights, for the capacity to ask this question is often more valuable than any immediate answer. One who truly carries this question no longer sleeps soundly.